what we're going to use tonight is we're actually going to use that shin to shin to set up our single leg X, okay? So if we're unfamiliar with the single leg X guard, we're going to briefly talk about it. We're not going to worry too much about sweeping or attacking from there. We're just going to focus right now on getting to the position itself. But again, we're here. We slide in shin to shin. Good post, good post. I'm going to drive him back. Everything's going to be the same. So it's basically like I'm going to try to do the same sweep that we were just working on. But maybe my opponent is keeping their base, their center of gravity a little bit more in front of me. Maybe they're not posting their hands out quite as wide. It might be harder for me to hit the sweep. So what that means is as I go to drive him forward here, okay, or maybe that foot's not quite within reach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to opt to go to single leg X instead. All it's going to do, guys, is this. I'm going to take the hook that was on shin to shin, and I'm going to kind of kick that foot up to the sky as I jump my hips right up onto the single leg X. Okay, if you don't know what single leg X is, let's rotate here a little bit, coach. Single leg X guard is a position where we're focusing on a single lever control. One foot is underneath my opponent and stepping on his hip, while the opposite foot is hooking right behind the same side hip, okay? My hips are glued to the back of his knee, and I'm pinching my knees together. My right hand is ready to block and frame this opposite leg so that he can't start smashing me down. Okay, this is single leg X. Single leg X is a fantastic position to use, again, defensively to stop your opponent from passing, but also offensively, like we've looked at with the little tilt sweep into the straight ankle lock. So we're just going to look at how to enter into the position from the shin to shin guard again. So we're shin to shin. Either he's starting to aggress towards me and is making me difficult to hit the sweep, or maybe I just want to go to single leg X. As I fall back and elevate that leg, I'm simply going to kick that foot through. As I kick that foot, guys, I'm kind of pulling his ankle into my armpit and jumping my hips up. So my hips are always aiming to go right behind the back of his knee pit. All right, it's like there's magnets. So I'm going to kind of lift and pinch right away. Again, once we're here, you don't need to grab the ankle necessarily. I can reach down and hold it. You know, if you had the pants, I could hold it. But it's perfectly fine for me to just take my left elbow and essentially pinch it tight, like I'm doing chicken wings here, tight. My right hand, however, is very important. I want to keep this frame blocking that opposite leg. The reason I'm blocking this is because if I don't, he's just going to start stepping up towards me and smashing me down. So preventatively, I want to keep this hand here. All right, guys, so let's look one more time. So again, we're in seated guard. I'm playing defensively. I'm framing on this knee, but maybe I say, okay, it's time to go. I move in, fall back, kick, and I get right here to single leg X. All right, guys, once we're in this position, you're done. You don't have to do anything else once you're there. Any questions? Yes, yeah, Caleb? Can I see one more time? Yeah, buddy. Go slow motion here. Again, once we're here, I'm trying to hang off of this knee. We should all remember, guys, I'm not allowed to bring this foot past, okay? That's reaping the knee. I'm causing internal rotation, which is dangerous because if he twists the other way violently, he's going to pop his knee. So we always just keep our heel on the actual hip bone itself. That way, I'm not reaping the knee and causing unnecessary damage or getting disqualified. All right, guys? And then we're going to talk about a couple of other ways to enter into the single leg X, but I wanted to start with this particular entry because we worked on the shin to shin sweep last night. Okay, ready, 1, 2. So this is a fun entry into the single leg X. It's one that we can utilize when our opponent isn't really posted out super far, so we can't quite hit the double ankle sweep from that position. It's also a good option that we can use when our opponent is trying to drive back into us. So if we're here in the shin to shin, and I pull him forward, but he's trying to smash me down, like drive this knee into my sternum. It's an excellent option to use when his knee is kind of almost like a knee on belly sort of position. I can just kick that leg through and get right here to the single leg X. All right, but I want to look at a couple different entries tonight into the single leg X guard because, especially in no-gi, guard retention can be tricky. And the reason for that is because there's nothing to grab onto, as in no material to grab onto. So whereas in the gi, I'm able to kind of hang off of him, in no-gi, that's not really going to be applicable. So the single leg X is always going to be a good option to fall back on when my opponent's starting to get really aggressive and I need to slow him down a little bit. So let's look at some really easy entries from here. So if I'm in the seated guard, anytime I'm able to maintain hooks on the inside of my partner's legs, I can get to single leg X. So we'll start first with just our double ankle sweep. So maybe like we worked on Tuesday, maybe I'm going for the dummy sweep, but he's pushing towards me. I fall back for double hooks. If I'm in this position, maybe I can't quite hit the double ankle sweep, so I'm gonna take my left leg or my right leg, it doesn't matter which one, guys. I'm just gonna take one of my legs, similar to what we just did. I'm gonna kick it through, but now I need to get a little bit more pull in towards him because he's in front of me as opposed to being over top of me after that shin to shin sweep setup. So I'm gonna need to kick my leg pretty aggressively and pull myself underneath him. And again, as soon as I do that, my hips are gonna start jumping up to get to the single leg X. I wanna maintain this frame right here though, until I can create my placeholder with my opposite arm, okay? Because if I take this frame off, his knee's gonna come down. So I wanna maintain my shin frame here as I start to step up on the hip. And now once I jump my hips up and hook the back of his bottom, now my frame is ready and there wasn't a window of opportunity where he could start to smash me down in the guard. Again, maybe I start with the dummy sweep, he's moving towards me, I go back, kick, and I get right to the single leg X. Same like we were doing before, making sure I'm hooking, focusing on single lever control. Okay, let's do it from a different angle here. So maybe I'm starting dummy sweep, he moves forward, double ankle, kick through, into the single leg X, good pinch, ready to frame that back knee, and we're all set. Hey, a quick note, some of us realize that if my frame fails and he steps forward, we have the shin sweep option here that we've looked at before, okay? So again, like the double ankle sweep, causing the external rotation, sit his center of gravity down. So that's another option if our frame fails us and they step over, like what we did from the hook sweep. Okay, guys? So let's practice this entry real quick, and then we have one more tonight. Any other questions? 1, 2. Let's go, guys. All right, guys, any questions about this particular entry into single leg X? From the double hooks, think double ankle sweep. Again, anytime I'm able to hook the inside of my partner's knees, I'm able to pull myself towards them, and that's kind of what we're working on. We're working on pulling ourselves underneath them and then lifting our hips up to get into the single leg X. So that said, hook sweep is also a great setup for single leg X. So framing on the hip, hooking the back of the knee. A common occurrence with the hook sweep here is that when I'm trying to hit the sweep, he's gonna be basing back really, really hard. We could, of course, come up on the ankle pick like we did last night, or he's opened up this gap so wide that I can enter into the single leg X. Okay, so again, starting in the hook sweep setup. How we get there is up to you guys. You know, maybe I'm going for dummy sweep and he steps his leg back, so I pull the hook sweep, but his base is really wide, and I kick through and go to the single leg X. We're trying to think about the bottom position not so much as a let me react to what he does, and more so of a let me pressure him and really put him on his back foot. You can think of it like from the bottom, you should be super offensive. I don't want to be defensive and kind of lackadaisical and like, okay, let's see what he's going to do. Let me see what's going to happen here. I should constantly keep him thinking, oh man, what's going to happen? How is he going to try to attack me next? So it's like constant pressure from the bottom. All right, so again, guys, the last one we'll play with is going to be from the hook sweep. Maybe I set it up from the dummy sweep, or maybe I just go for a 2-on-1 grip, and I pull back for our counter pressure with the frame here. And again, once I'm in this position, I'm looking for that hook sweep. Maybe it just doesn't quite work for me. So I'm going to take the foot frame off the hip, kick through, pull myself under, and now we're ready in the single leg X. Okay, I'll show one more time. Slow motion from this side. And again, once we're here, he should be off balance, ready to either get swept or at least allow us to defend our guard a little bit longer. Okay, guys, let's do one more round, then we'll get into drilling. 1, 2.